Welcome back, WNST, Tassel, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively into Cleveland week, and it's always a great time for Taharka ice cream. My wife's been telling you about it. My wife's never done a commercial here in 17 and a half years of our marriage. She wanted to do this one, so she's doing the Taharka Brothers commercial because it's complex. You got to pick flavors. There's 8 of them. There's 28 flavors to pick from. You might want the eggnog or the peppermint bark or the sweet potato crumble. Whatever it is, you pick your flavors. Then at the end, you put the Baltimore Positive code in. You save $15.70. $40.30 delivered to your door, 8 pints. You pick the flavors. I would go with the seasonals. I raided the Taharka Brothers vault the other day and brought home some pumpkin spice latte that I pulled from the fall so I could still be having it like in March. Daryl Ruiter is here. He is a Right or Wrong fan. He is at the Fan 92.3 in Cleveland, where I'm skipping this trip, Ruiter. I love seeing you out there. I'd love to take you to Tremont to Lucky's and get some great biscuits and some breakfast and, go down and get some Simon ribs and all that. But no, not this time. You're in all your glory, the 9-3 Browns. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this resurrection.
Resurrection would probably be the apt description of it. Pleasantly surprised. I mean, hey, I went into the season as far as expectations, just hoping they could get to 500 and be around 8-8, 9-7. I did not think that we would be going this deep into the season, and not only would the Browns be 9-3, but they'd have a 2-game lead on the Ravens, especially after what the Ravens did to the Browns in Week 1 and just absolutely embarrassing them down there in Baltimore. So the Browns are in a good spot. It's been a lot of fun. Freddie Kitchens, or I should say, thankfully Freddie Kitchens isn't here. They should have hired Kevin Stefanski last year instead of Freddie. But Stefanski right now, he is my leader in the clubhouse for Coach of the Year for a couple of reasons. One, he's done an outstanding job. 2, some of the challenges he's had to deal with. And then number 3, it's the freaking Browns, and they're 9-3, and they're going to make the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. That automatically should get you Coach of the Year, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, you and I have had some dark conversations over the course of years. Hey, you got to admit, I like you, man. I let you come on and run all that LeBron, a couple years ago in the middle, Indians, all of that. Look, I'm not coming in on Monday, and I am a little wistful because, I do like Cleveland. I enjoy this trip. I even missed Pittsburgh. Don't tell anybody last week. But for me, the Cleveland experience and being there has always been sort of half-hearted because the stadium's never really rocked. Like the way I remember, I told somebody else in Cleveland this earlier. I think I flew to Cleveland for the Drive game in 1986. So my first Cleveland experience was coming into Tower City, going to the church there right on the square with Phil Jackman, people wearing dog faces the morning of the worst thing ever, the Elway thing. So I know what the sound of the mistake on the lake sounded like. I was there for a playoff game with the Oilers. I was there the last game that they ever played against the Bengals as the old Browns. And that new stadium, a little bit like Camden Yards, that it never really fulfilled any sort of destiny. But I've been down there. My most memorable experience in that stadium literally is the day that Obama and Springsteen had the concert where 350,000 people showed up downtown. It was insane. But I don't remember anything about that, anything special happening in that stadium in regard to it being full, vibrant, joyous, the things that I'm used to seeing in Pittsburgh, too used to seeing in Pittsburgh, to be honest with you.
Well, and the most 2020 thing is that the Browns are good and nobody's allowed in the building, or only 12,000 fans are allowed in the building. So the stadium's not going to be rocking much a Monday night either when these two teams get together. That's unfortunate because I can tell you this game under normal circumstances would rival the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals, because we all know how Cleveland feels about Baltimore and the Ravens, and
still,
yeah, still bitter.
Okay, just checking. I'm just checking.
Until this year, you guys had as many Vince Lombardi trophies as the Browns had winning seasons since 1999. So this is only the third.
That's 2.
Yeah, right. But this is the 3rd now. So thankfully that little chestnut that I used to throw out there has been cracked and is no longer applicable unless you guys end up winning a third one here. But, it's unfortunate that the atmosphere, isn't going to be in the building Monday night. There will be some fans there. There'll be, 12,000. We think. We're still waiting to hear from the city and the state about the curfew and whether or not that's going to be even allowed to go forward. But the game will be played. No question there. But yeah, it's disappointing. I wrote about this after Sunday's game in Tennessee. Again, the most 2020 thing ever. Here are the Browns sitting at 9-3, the best they've been since 1994. They're doing things that haven't been done since the 60s and 50s. Baker with the 4 touchdowns in the first half, autogram did that in 1951. Baker's the only quarterback to do that in the Super Bowl era for the Browns in franchise history, which is incredible. He's the only quarterback this year to throw 4 touchdowns in a half, and he has done that twice this year. And then
I watched that one Sunday.
Yeah, and then also, they've won 4 in a row for the second time this year, and this franchise hasn't won 4 in a row multiple times in the same season since 1967. So this is actually what the Browns have done under Kevin Stefanski in his first year is downright historic. Now, in Baltimore, you guys are laughing at it because, you guys do this stuff all the time. Unfortunately, the Browns have been terrible for 25 years, and so this is very novel here. But so what they are doing this year, Nestor, is pretty historic, and they're they're going to win 10, maybe 11 games, regardless of the outcome of Monday's game. Heck, if they are able to some way, somehow, by some miracle, beat the Ravens Monday night, I think they'll win 10 games. Or I should say, I think they're going to win 12 games. I think they'll go 12-4 because I got them beating the Giants. I got them beating the Jets. So that gets them to 11 wins. Baltimore would be the 12th. I didn't have them beating the Titans. I was pleasantly surprised that they beat Tennessee. So,
well, you're starting to believe, right? When I see the believe land over your shoulder. By the way, great room raider for Ruiter, man. I mean, right? Nobody's got a better. I have all of that stuff, and I just don't. I don't know. I mean,
you got to stage it, Nestor. I mean, I'm expecting.
I got a leg lamp here, 365 days a year. You should respect that, right?
I respect it. I'm surprised there aren't Lombardi Trophy banners hanging on your blinds behind you.
Well, I mean, I've shown this week. I keep this is the hat that came off John Ogden's head the day he was drafted. Okay, so I mean, this is the first ever thing that ever said Baltimore Ravens on it in history. I have that, and I have Arthur. Oh, well, by the way, Arthur fell apart.
That's a shame that fell apart. Let me tell you.
I didn't do that on purpose. That makes it even funnier.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame that came apart.
I'll bring art closer to you. So
I'm good.
I'm gonna have to fix that.
I'm good.
That is hilarious. Anyway, Daryl Ruiter's here. He is Right or Wrong fan at 92.3 and the fan in the land of Cleve, where they are. I excited about this and believing like you're going to play some games in January with a chance. Make the case for them being the better team here than they've been next month, right? Like this winning thing they've been on, right? This is unprecedented for a lot of the people there. Make the case for me that Baker Mayfield has made the next step.
Well, I'll say 11 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's the streak that he's currently on.
Fair enough.
He hasn't thrown a pick since, unfortunately, the one that cost Odell Beckham Jr. his season. They're down in Cincinnati. So that is one of the metrics. I know people want to point to that 3-game stretch where, he went without throwing a touchdown. And the bottom line, lousy weather, rain, wet, windy. You're not smart if you're throwing the football a lot in those conditions, especially when you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt leading the NFL in rushing. So it was smart to limit him to 20 to 25 throws per game in those type of conditions. But I do think he has taken the next step. I don't think he's elite. I'm not going to sit here and try and make the case that he belongs in the same conversation as Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, because he doesn't, at least not yet. Now, if we go through the month of December here and he's throwing 4 touchdown passes in every game with no interceptions, when we get to January, you and I probably have a different discussion. But right now he's not there yet, but he is making strides under Kevin Stefanski. And to me, that's what's most important. I expect the quantum leap for Baker to happen next year. When we get into year 2, it would be the first time for him that he gets a second season with a head coach, an offensive coordinator, and an offensive system. That's when you expect that quantum leap. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he belongs in the same breath as the elite quarterbacks, even though he is coming off of a game in which he played like one of the elites.
Daryl Ruiter's covered the Browns and the Tribe and the Cavs and all sorts of things out in the land of Cleve for a long, long time. He has not had a braggable football moment on this program in well over a decade. So I wanted, well, there was the Pettin. There was 5 minutes with Pettin there. And, Johnny Football took over, I think, at that point. What do you make of the whole COVID thing in regard? Like, what were you thinking when you're watching the Broncos play without a quarterback? I mean, you're a mouthy sort. I've seen your act behind the press box in Cleveland all these years and whatever. I can't imagine. Like, and then the Ravens go play without half their team. What do you make of the shield and the integrity of what they're willing to sanction at this point?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's going to stop the National Football League. The Denver situation, I understood why they made the Broncos play without a quarterback because of some of the issues, I guess, they had internally with the protocols. And I think that was the league's way of punishing Denver, quite frankly. Hey, if you're not going to follow the protocols, well, then too bad, tough cookies, you got to play. The difference, and this was a lot of the argument on social media, was, well, why does Denver have to play but not Baltimore? And the difference was that Baltimore was in the midst of a viral outbreak. And so I'm actually going to defend the National Football League and how they handled that Steelers-Ravens game. And
they weren't in the middle of an outbreak an hour before the game Tuesday night when Des Bryant got tapped, though, right?
Right. The contact tracing thing I do find to be very interesting in how they legislated or whatnot. And the other thing too is do we, there's margin for error, right? I mean, look at how many false positive COVID tests we have had this year. Unfortunately, it's not been a perfect system. I will say that for the most part, I think the NFL has had the safety of the players in mind, even if it compromised the integrity of the game a little bit with the protocols that they put in place. But I also do see a lot of hypocrisy in how this thing is run, because by all rights, I mean, I make my living with football, and I say this understanding that my living would have been compromised. By all rights, there shouldn't have been a football season this year at any level, anywhere in the country. But, America had to have its football, and so we got our football. And
we also have full hospitals.
Right. And so when people complain about games being canceled or players being out or whatever, well, it's like, you wanted the sport to play, so they're playing the sport, and these are the circumstances. One of the big fights right now is Ohio State. It appears that they are going to be permitted to play in the Big Ten championship game despite only playing 5 games. I think that you need to have more than just 5 games to prove that you're among the best in college football. That's just my opinion. And believe me, I'm a Buckeye honk. So I'm not going to complain that they're going to get the pass to go play Northwestern in the Big Ten title game. But again, this is what the Big Ten signed up for, right? I mean, they were going to play, then they decided they weren't going to play, and then they decided they were going to play, and they gave themselves no margin for error because you have to have the Big Ten title game played by a certain date.
As outraged as you are that maybe there shouldn't have been a season, I mean, the college thing is gross to me. You know what I mean? Like, just there
shouldn't have been any season. It should not have been college football because those kids, technically they get the scholarships, so you could say they get paid, but those kids aren't getting paid. NFL players, it's their job to play. So I will hear that argument that, hey, you got to go to work. We'll put some safety protocols in place, make it safe for you to go to work as possible. But to me, high school football and college football this year, it would have been in the best interest of the safety of everybody involved that they just take the year off. But the almighty dollar in this country speaks volumes, and there was too much money to be made. And quite frankly, Nestor, as you know, it's exactly why they played.
Well, and, when they can't get the horses to the post on Thanksgiving night, the Black Friday advertisers, I mean, the Ravens outbreak cost the league money, embarrassment, all that stuff. But I don't think there's anything more embarrassing than them putting a team out there on the field without a quarterback and sanctioning it. To me, you've jumped the shark for me.
Yeah, I think they were punishing the Denver Broncos. I think that was the league's backhanded way also to send a message to the other teams, follow the protocols because we don't care who's out. You will, if you know, you're going to play. If there's no viral outbreak and you have to field your practice squad team to play the game, you will play. So I also think that they use Denver as a way to set an example for the rest of the league.
We'll see if that example works the rest of the month. Daryl Ruiter is here. He is Right or Wrong Fan out on the Twitter thing and in social media, usually in the back of the press box in Cleveland. I'm usually in the back of the press box in Cleveland and, going to Tremont and getting my Luckies and having a biscuit before the game and doing all that. I'm stepping back on this, and I know you've traveled in the past and been here for a crab cake time or three and in what you do for a living. I went to Houston, and I sat in the roof week 2 in an empty stadium in a hurricane. And then I went to D.C. and I went to Philadelphia. They let fans in Philadelphia. I felt sorry for the fans because it doesn't feel like something you'd want to pay to do. It doesn't feel like it's a whole lot of fun. Like the reasons we all love concerts and ball games and these gatherings and festivals and parade, all these things is, we're human beings. We like other people. And this has been the weirdest part of all this, that I'm sort of stepping back, but I'm getting to experience like going to Pizza John's on a Monday night and grabbing cheesesteaks and bringing them home and dropping a pizza off for my kid an hour before the game. I'm finding all that, but the notion that this is going to get back to normal anytime super soon, that people are coming together, this is going to be interesting for sports. And I know you're a baseball guy. We talk about Camden Yards, and we're in the last year of a lease here. How all of sports gets back up onto its knees and gets people to spend the kind of money it takes to keep LeBron James in Cleveland.
Yeah, and the Indians are about to trade Francisco Lindor this offseason because pandemic or no pandemic, they couldn't afford to keep him. But the reality is, Carlos Santana signed this week with the Kansas City Royals, an Indians fan favorite and staple. So, the economics, you talk about coming to the end of a lease there at Camden Yards. The Indians are coming to the end of a lease at Progressive Field here in the next couple of years. And there's, some background chatter that maybe the Dolans have had enough of the criticism and they want out and they'd like to sell the team. And if they sell the team, it would be open for relocation because they haven't taken public money recently for the ballpark improvements. They're trimming payroll significantly.
Everybody, they killed the Frederick Keys before breakfast today. Literally.
They're going to rename the team at some point. Okay.
Right. They're going to have to. Sure.
So that's out there, but they're not in a hurry to come up with the new Cleveland name at this point. You know what I'm saying? And my fear is that the name on the team that's going to change is the city, just because of the economics. The Indians, quite frankly, Nestor, they're near the bottom in television revenue. They're near the bottom in attendance revenue. And so when you're –
And they've had success.
They have, but not recently. Even when they were winning on the field, they still ranked in the lower third in attendance in Major League Baseball. They've shrunk the capacity of the ballpark by putting those crates in right field or whatever. And they've tried to do different things to get fans back in the ballpark. So my thing is I think baseball is going to have the hardest time recovering from this pandemic. I think the NFL is going to be fine. I think the NBA is going to be fine. Sure, the revenues are going to take a hit, but it's going to be fine. I think the NHL will be fine because the hockey fans are real diehards in the cities in which they play. But I've
been to a Lumberjacks game.
They're now the Cleveland Monsters. They won the Calder Cup, by the way, the year the Cavs won the NBA title.
There you go.
I think that the sport that's going to have the hardest time recovering from this pandemic is going to be Major League Baseball.
Daryl Ruiter is here, Right or Wrong Fan. I hope you do go follow him out on Twitter, certainly during the game, before and after on Monday night. Hey, man, next year, dare I say I miss Cleveland? I don't want to admit that to too many people here. It takes on the wrong connotations down in Berea and Parma and all the places.
I don't understand why that's a problem down in Baltimore. The Browns have been good for 2 wins a year. You got our football team and our Super Bowl trophies. What are you guys mad at Cleveland for?
I'm mad because my Art Modell picture broke on here and you're laughing at me, but I'm going to hold Art up anyway and give Art some love. Hey, man, we will renew the hatred on Monday night. It's very one way. You guys don't like us. I come in, I get a panini. I've eaten in Mallorca. I've hung out in the flats, the old flats, the new flats, 4th Street, Tremont. I mean, I even partied with the legendary Jane Scott at the Agora with the fabulous Smithereens one night. Yeah.
But you know what? See, here's the thing about rivalries, and this is why Ravens and Steelers is always so compelling and has supplanted, at least in Pittsburgh, the Browns as being the chief rival. It's because those two franchises have played so much meaningful football over the years. And you've had division titles and playoff berths and playoff advancement all on the line in those games. This is the first time, I think, since the Browns have been reincarnated, that the Ravens and Browns will play a game with this type of significance involved. Baltimore has to have this game more than Cleveland does. There's no question about that. By the way, I like the Ravens in this game. They're getting healthy, and Lamar.
Dude, are you doing what Buck and Aikman did, jinxing Justin Tucker the other night? You trying to?
Nope. There's no sarcasm here. I have the utmost respect for the Ravens organization and what they've put together.
They win games like this, and the Browns lose games like this, right?
Absolutely. But again, no matter what happens, you're still in 3rd place Monday night. Okay, and number one, number two, Baltimore needs to go. 4-1 in their last 5 or whatever?
They need to win them all to get to 11 to get in. I mean, 10-6, they have trouble because they've got a really poor AFC record.
Okay, so they basically need to win out, whereas the Browns, in their final 4, they just need to go 1-3, 2-2 because they've got some tiebreakers.
Well, the Ravens might get some help because some of these teams, Raiders and whatnot, might stink. I mean, you guys might stink and you would lose. Who knows? The Giants almost won. We thought that we have the Jaguars, the Giants, and the Bengals. Now, the Bengals, without this kid playing quarterback. But the Giants have gotten better. I mean, the Jaguars hung in. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that I don't think the Ravens are set up to just cakewalk anyone other than a really lousy Cowboys defense, which they did on Tuesday.
Well, and the Bengals too. You got the Bengals still on the schedule. You got you guys have winnable games on your schedule, as do the Browns. And of course, the Browns got actually flexed this week. They will once they're done with Baltimore on Monday night, they'll play Sunday night in New York against the New York Football Giants. So. My point, though, is for Ravens and Browns to become a compelling rivalry, they're going to have to play games like what is coming up Monday night. And also, too, quite frankly, the Browns need to prove they belong in the same conversation as the Ravens and the Steelers and the Chiefs by winning a game like that on Monday night. So there's the pressure's on Baltimore. This is what's so great about this game Monday night, Nestor, and has me so excited. The pressure's on the Ravens. They need to win to keep legitimately their playoff hopes alive instead of having to do all the long division on the board and, go through a bunch of scenarios. The Browns need to win it just so that they can prove to people, hey, you know what? We are deserving of being.
It's a signature win for the Browns. It's a survival win for the Ravens.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this game so compelling. So, it's going to be interesting. Cleveland's defense, quite frankly, not very good. Top 2 players in the secondary probably aren't going to play. Ronnie Harrison's expected to still be out. Denzel Ward, he's, Kevin Stefanski said this week he's day-to-day. We'll see if he's able to go. But, this defense for Cleveland isn't that strong, as Lamar Jackson found out in week number 1 and what he was able to do. The bad news for the Ravens, though, is that this Browns offense, even without Odell Beckham Jr., I think that the offense is playing much better now and kind of has its collective stuff together. And I think that will be something that the Ravens have to worry about.
We're all day-to-day, Ruiter. I mean, in the case of Des Bryant, he was sort of minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour, right? So, hey, man, stay safe out there. Wash your hands, wear your mask. Maybe on the backside of this one on Monday, we'll have something to talk about next week. I certainly hope so. I want to see a really good football game. I want to see a good version of these two teams play each other, and at 10:30 on Monday night. It's the kind of game we want to stay up and watch because I thought some of the games stunk this week. This is all we got, dude. Stones aren't coming back. Pearl Jam's not coming. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. So I want to make it good. I don't want to walk over games, all right?
Yeah, and, like I said, I think that the Browns offense will present a challenge. We'll see how much resistance the Browns can, give Lamar Jackson. in that explosive Ravens offense. That to me is where this game's going to be decided. Can the Browns do enough to stay? Because I think Cleveland's best defense, quite frankly, is their offense. Playing that ball control offensive style that we've seen that has led to these 9 wins where they just basically control the clock. You can't score if you don't have the football. They get out to early leads, and then they just pound Chubb and Hunt, fire in the occasional pass, mix that in, and they just, by the time the fourth quarter comes, defenses are spent. They keep throwing Chubb and Hunt at you, and, they eventually break through. That's been the formula for the Browns this year. We'll see if they can execute it Monday night against Baltimore.
Very difficult for the Ravens to come from behind, given the way they play and the way they're built and the way they want to play, which is really the ultimate Achilles heel for them, as I think you found out in the postseason. Daryl Ruiter's Right or Wrong Fan at 92.3 and the Fan in the land of Cleve. We're getting ready for football on Monday night. Getting ready for the holidays, too, with some Taharka ice cream. The Taharka brothers have put together this incredible deal. They've discounted ice cream like they've never done before. $15.70 off the 8-pack, delivering it to your door. Just use the passcode Baltimore Positive. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore Positive.